first talk about a filmmaker who many critics believed had a huge influence on Spike Lee. Now, if you have taken a film class of any kind, you've probably heard of Eisenstein, and if you did study him, or if you have heard of him, you are probably familiar with this film. Eisenstein is a hugely venerated Russian filmmaker who is best known for being the pioneer behind montage theory, and Battleship Potemkin is a film where you really can see him putting his ideas to work. Now, Eisenstein was deeply influenced by Marxism and believed that montage functioned in the same way that Marxist dialectics did. Now, that sounds very intimidating, but basically what that means is that Eisenstein believed that new forms of thought emerged when two opposite ideas or concepts clashed, and this notion is at the heart of Do the Right Thing. Eisenstein's montage theory was broken up into 5 different categories. Here we are going to be focusing on his 5th method of montage, which was known as intellectual or ideological montage, a method which is best illustrated in this clip from Battleship Potemkin. Here, the image of a priest tapping his cross is contrasted with a soldier doing the same with a sword. The strategic cutting of these two images invokes the idea of the moral corruption that results when there is no separation between the church and state. In Do the Right Thing, we can observe similar montage techniques, especially in the intro. The raw, robust dancing sequence establishes the emotional tone of the film and is cut in a way that foreshadows some of the main themes. Here we can see that Tina, who is boxing on screen right, is suddenly boxing on screen left, and the swift jump cut creates a cinematic illusion of Tina boxing against herself. The editing in this clip underscored the idea that the battle between love and hate is not only the battle of the community at large, but a deep inner struggle that most of the characters experience. The characters of Do the Right Thing are full of conflict and contradiction, and almost everyone, from Radio Rahim to Mookie, is at war with themselves. Another big standout editing technique happens in 2 instances in the film. The first time we see this is when Tina embraces Mookie in what appears to be the same shot repeated twice. The second time this happens, it is the action rather than the shot that is repeated twice from 2 different perspectives. Charles Musser explains that this editing choice is a visual illustration of the principal oppositions around which the film is built. One attached to love, one attached to hate. One to the private world of family, one to the public world of work. It's a bold and intriguing editing cut that Lee will employ again in The 25th Hour, and we've seen it before in films from Bollywood hits to French New Wave classics. If you watched my last video, I talked a lot about how the core of the film is meant to make you sit up in your seat a little bit, and that's what this editing technique does. The disruption of rhythm surprises you, it subverts your expectations, and urges you to engage rather than to passively watch. So Eisenstein also believed that showing things as they were in real life, in their correct spatial proportions, was not always as resonant as depicting objects as we may perceive of them, psychologically or emotionally. He claimed that it was natural for cinema to reflect our flawed or even distorted sense of perception, and used the example of children's drawings to further support this idea. Children's drawings are almost never proportionally accurate, and here is where Eisenstein would argue that the more emotional value a child places on an object, the bigger it is in the drawing. Now, to a lot of people, this could register as over-analytical BS, and that's totally fair. But when you apply this concept to film, it can be surprisingly effective, especially in Do the Right Thing, where emotionally expressive disproportions can be observed in the way in which Radio Rahim is depicted on screen. As I mentioned in my previous video, Spike Lee uses lenses to give his facial features a wide, distortive effect to signify the way his inner anger and turmoil warps the way he views others. Lee also exaggerates his size with the use of camera angles to convey intimidation or even menace. In this scene here with Mother, Sister, and Mayor, Spike Lee uses similar camera angle techniques to further establish the dynamics of their relationship. Here, Spike Lee places the camera high above and positions it downward. In this way, the camera sees the Mayor the same way Mother, Sister does, as a menial drunk who is beneath her. In fact, a lot of people see him this way, and the camera captures his lack of power within the community thusly. At times, he is seated while other characters are standing, to further drive this notion of inferiority home. In the end, we see them seated together, conveying that the power dynamics have dissipated between the two of them, as Demare has earned both mother-sisters' respect and affection.
Fight the power! 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 We got to fight the powers that be!